A husband beaten half to death, a wife who vanished without a trace, and marks carved into a wall that no weapon on earth could leave behind. Rachel called me at the worst possible hour. Missing woman, signs of a struggle, an unconscious husband. I'd closed 3 cases that week and hadn't slept in 30 hours. She didn't care. 20 minutes, she said, and hung up. I picked up my partner, Jake. The kid was just as wrecked as I was, and we got to the scene. Detective Logan met us at the door. "Long time no see, Carter. How's your health?" The husband, Liam, had called 911, babbling about something taking his wife, then stopped responding to dispatch. Patrol found him unconscious upstairs in a puddle of his own blood. Broken ribs, a hand shattered like he'd gone 3 rounds with a wall. Except there was no fight anywhere else in the house. No blood trail on the stairs, no scuffed dust. Nothing. Just one room soaked red, and 4 deep grooves carved into the wall above the bed. Too clean, too symmetrical, for any weapon Logan's techs could put a name to. The closest guess they had was a sharpened garden rake. Nobody believed that either. The phone Liam used to call 911 turned up downstairs on the kitchen table. The blood smeared on it was hours fresher than the blood upstairs. Someone had carried a man who'd lost that much blood down a full flight of stairs without leaving a single drop behind. No forced entry, no weapon, no wife. "We're not as stupid as you think," Logan told me, pointing at the puddle with his shoe. "If there was a third party in this house, we'd have found something. That's the problem." I walked the house twice more after he left, and got nothing for it except more questions. Outside, Jake was asleep in the passenger seat. Out cold, mouth open, like the world wasn't currently falling apart. I almost let him sleep. Almost. 10 cops had seen him nodding off during the handover. Rachel found out within the hour and pulled him off the case on the spot. Said he wasn't cut out for it, said he knew what he signed up for. I fought her on it and lost. For one night I worked the case alone, parked outside the house on a stakeout. Nobody asked me to run. Hour after hour, nothing moved. Then, right at the edge of the yard, something did. Low to the ground. 4 legs, moving too fast to be a dog. Something was watching that house, and whatever it was, it didn't move like anything alive should, move. The shape in the yard was gone before I could get a clear look. No footprints, nothing. I told myself it was exhaustion playing tricks. I'd been awake too long to trust my own eyes. The case wasn't getting easier. Walking the property in daylight, I found the same kind of precision marks gouged into a side window. Dozens of pinpoint holes punched clean through the glass without a single crack. Whatever made them had been impossibly careful or impossibly strong, and I genuinely couldn't tell which scared me more. Logan called with the lab results not long after. The blood on the bedsheets belonged to Olivia. Nothing else. No trace of a third party anywhere in that house, forensically speaking, which was somehow worse than finding one. Rachel called too, gloating that she was putting Jake back under me. On one condition I negotiated. The kid got 1 more day off first. I wasn't about to argue with a win. I tracked down the neighbors, the Wests, who'd been watching the place during the couple's honeymoon. Mrs. West told me Liam and Olivia came home early. Olivia supposedly sick, though she admitted she'd never actually laid eyes on her. 2 mornings before the attack, Liam showed up at her door in his pajamas, barefoot, hand bleeding, babbling about losing his keys. Scared, impatient. Not himself at all. One detail stuck with me, harder than the rest. Their honeymoon had been in a small town called Pineville, Kentucky. That night I went back to watch the house with Jake riding shotgun, fresh off his forced day of rest and practically vibrating with energy. We sat for hours, nothing. Then past the property line, something moved. On all 4s, faster than anything with 4 legs had any right to move. I was out of the car and into the woods before I even decided to chase it. No tracks, no sound of branches breaking, just absolute silence, and my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. When I got back to the road, there were 4 fresh, symmetrical claw marks gouged into a tree trunk, exactly matching the ones inside the house. I sent Jake home and kept watch alone for what was left of the night. Then my radio cracked to life. "Carter, respond. Get to the hospital. The husband is waking up." I had 100 questions for Liam. I just didn't expect his answers to be the start of the real nightmare. The man everyone wanted me to arrest swore a monster took his wife. I almost believed him, right up until I saw it myself. Liam stopped being a suspect to me the second I saw his eyes. Pure desperation, no calculation in it anywhere. And after 20 years of interrogations, I know exactly what a lie looks like on a man's face. This wasn't one. He told me a creature had been stalking them since their honeymoon in Pineville, that it followed them home, and that it took Olivia right out of their bedroom.
I pushed him hard, brought up the boxer's fracture, accused him outright of hurting his own wife. He never broke. He just got angrier that I was sitting there asking questions instead of out looking for her.
"That monster took Olivia. Why the hell are you wasting time?" he shouted. And underneath the panic, I saw something I'd only ever seen in people who'd already lost someone, except his still had hope buried in it. That night, Liam tore the IV out and ran. Dispatch wanted to send a patrol after him. I called it off. I had a feeling exactly where he'd go. I found him outside the house, in nothing but a hospital gown, yanking on the locked front door with everything he had left. He wanted to get back to Pineville. Said an old woman there, who'd rented them the cabin, knew something she wasn't telling anyone. Against every rule I'd ever followed in this job, I put him in my car and started driving. 300 miles, ignoring 3 separate calls, ordering me to turn around and bring him straight back to the hospital. Somewhere past midnight at a gas station off the highway, I saw it again. A pale, humanoid shape, standing perfectly still between the trees across the road, watching me. It dragged one long claw down a trunk, slow and deliberate. The same metal-on-wood sound I'd heard back at the house. I chased it into the woods with my gun drawn, shouting at it to stop. No footprints, no sound, just my own breathing and a feeling crawling up my spine that I wasn't the one doing the hunting. When I came back out, there were 4 fresh gouges carved into the bark behind me, closer to the road than where I'd started. I didn't tell Liam what I'd seen. I just got back in the car and drove. We crossed into Pineville a little after sunrise. I had no idea I was driving him straight back into the thing that wanted him. I thought I was the one who was about to die out there. I was wrong about who. Pineville felt wrong before we even reached the old woman's property. Too quiet, too still for a town that size. Liam pointed me toward her house and told me to wait in the car. I never made it to the front door. A dog came out of nowhere and locked its teeth into my thigh before I even saw it move. It took everything I had, plus a face full of pepper spray, to get it off me. By the time I looked back at the road, the passenger seat was empty. I called it in over the radio, then went after him on a bad leg. I found his trail leading into the woods behind the property. Then I heard him scream. He was on the ground when I reached him, scratched up deep, soaked in blood and worse, barely conscious. "Olivia," he whispered. That was all he had left to say. Backup sirens were already closing in through the trees. I had him halfway off the ground when I heard it behind me. That same metallic scraping sound, claws dragged slow across bark. I let go of Liam and turned, firing into the dark. Whatever it was moved faster than my eyes could track, slipping between trunks, dodging every round. Then it was just standing there in front of me, 13 feet away, then closer. My bad leg caught a root. I went down hard, my gun skidding out of reach into the dark. I closed my eyes, certain this was it, that there was nothing left to do but wait for it. It wasn't me it hit. I opened my eyes to Liam's face an inch from mine, blood bubbling from his mouth, his body between me and the thing behind him. 4 claws were already through his chest. The creature rested its chin on his shoulder, like he was nothing, staring at me with milky white eyes, its face twisting into something that almost looked like a smile. It pulled its claws free. Liam dropped. It raised its hand toward me, and my legs simply refused to move. I couldn't run. I couldn't even breathe. The last thing I remember is the dark swallowing everything whole. And then somewhere far away, voices shouting that they'd found me. They took my badge, my gun, and my partner. So I went back alone, straight into the one town everyone warned me never to enter after dark. I came to in a hospital bed, not knowing if I was alive because of luck, or because that thing simply let me live. Through the door, I heard a man from Internal Affairs telling Rachel I was finished, that I'd kidnapped a suspect, ignored direct orders, and gotten a man killed, and that he'd make sure I went to prison for it. Rachel didn't argue the facts. She just told him I stayed her detective until she got an explanation, and that was the end of the conversation. When I asked her about Jake, she wouldn't tell me a thing. When I started digging on my own, the hospital acted like Liam had never been a patient there at all. Somebody above Rachel had buried the case, fast and quiet. I spent a week recovering, replaying his last word over and over in my head. Olivia. He died shielding me with his own body, still hoping somebody would find her. I owed him more than guilt. So, the day they discharged me, badge gone, gun gone, suspended pending review, I packed a bag with rope, a hunting knife, a multi-tool, pepper spray, and drove 300 miles back to Pineville, alone. The town sign had 4 fresh claw marks raked across it, like something wanted me to know it remembered me too. I rented the same cabin Liam and Olivia had stayed in from an old woman named Sophia.
Walking the property, I met her neighbor James, a retired sheriff with a sharp measuring stare, who clocked me as a cop inside of 10 seconds flat, just from the way I carried myself in the car I drove. He knew about the missing woman, knew the whole town had been quietly terrified for weeks. I invited him over for a drink the next night, figuring no cop alive turns that down. At the general store, stocking up, the cashier warned me, almost embarrassed to say it out loud, not to be outside after dark. Like it was a rule everyone in town already knew, and nobody ever had to explain why. That night I taped the window frames, strung fishing line with bells across every entry point, and locked myself in with a knife under my pillow. I fell asleep faster than I should have. I woke up with claws already buried in the same leg that dog had torn open. That thing's face an inch from mine, feeding on the fear like it was the only thing keeping it alive. I tore awake for real, alone in bed, the sheets soaked through with blood, the stitches torn clean open. Dream. Or memory. I genuinely couldn't tell you which.